What up, guys? Your boy Quake, and Nicki Minaj decided to finally do an interview, and it was an interesting choice. He decided to appear on this guy's podcast, which is Bryce Crawford. And on this podcast, I've never seen it before. This is the first time I've watched it because Nicki Minaj is on there. And apparently the podcast is related towards, at least the subject matter is towards finding Jesus Christ and believing in God more. And that's the overall theme. So Nicki Minaj decided to appear on this podcast, and the guy ended up asking a very interesting question about the music industry because she was heavily in the music industry, deep into, making music. And a lot of people equate music with satanic vibes and energy and all that. And Nicki Minaj essentially exposes the music industry and confirms that and says that music is a way to push negative things, talk about materialistic things to make people feel like they're worth less because we're over here making all this money and being all flashy and everything is looking like it's perfect. But in reality, that's not the case. So here's one clip I want to share with you guys, and then I'm going to talk about it after.
And I know you have been in some powerful rooms and powerful places growing up in many aspects of your life. I mean, I got so many questions on this, but being just in general in the music scene for a second, do you think that the music scene as a whole, just a broad statement, do you think the music scene is very demonically organized? Is there a lot of crazy stuff that happens in there? Can you kind of tell me a little bit about that?
Well, it sure isn't driving people to God. It's, it definitely isn't making people want God more because it focuses on the worship of material things. And we all play a part in it. I've played a part in it, of course. It's not healthy over time. It's not healthy mentally and for the soul, emotionally. I mean, look at all the young people right now that have to grow up in the Instagram era where everyone is, editing and photoshopping and everyone thinks the other person looks like that in real life. Yeah. And these children, I can't imagine. I always think about this. I say these kids are so strong because I cannot imagine having to have dealt with this while I was growing up and, while you're changing, your body, your face, everything about you and, is changing. And then you have to constantly compare yourself to other people. And what does that do to the self-esteem of these young people?
Yeah.
That's what I think. That's what I think is very demonic about the industry as a whole, is that it makes people feel that they're never enough. And if you feel like you're never enough, how can you be happy? Yeah. I guess I feel a sense of responsibility too a lot of the times because a lot of the stuff that I was rapping about, I didn't, I was so young too. I didn't realize that there are young people listening to it and how it could probably make them make certain decisions that wasn't, really thought out. Now, if I could do it all over again, I would have changed a lot of things that I said because I just don't like the idea of thinking that these people will now grow up wanting to change themselves as opposed to loving themselves,
So that's interesting. She is saying that, the music industry, which we know, most the average person knows that they're not pushing to, be closer to God. They're pushing more satanic, demonic stuff. And she makes a really good point that's interesting. She says that the younger generation, I don't know how they're coming up and having to deal with this. Like, it's very hard. And I agree with that. I think today's generation with social media, incredibly hard because now you have all kinds of people judging you, options, comparisons that you have to make. So it's way worse. When I was 14, 15, I dealt with a little bit of social media, but in my 20s is when I saw it more. So a little bit more mature. But she also makes an interesting point that she regrets some of the lyrics that she put in her music. She wishes she could go back in time and change some of that. And that is a powerful thing to say because obviously some of those hits and those records is what got her in the position she's at financially and success-wise. So to say, hey, I matured in the music that I made back then, most artists wouldn't admit that. Most artists wouldn't say that because what that does is if her fans are watching this and saying, yeah, damn, that music is kind of messed up. That kind of like puts a shame to her old music and maybe makes people not listen to it in the past, which is, honorable thing to say. That's really, really, something I don't hear from artists in general. And then she gets asked the question about the Illuminati, which is this secret society that everybody has mentioned in the music industry and in Hollywood, where these elites take control and push certain narratives. Now, I think there is elites in the industry, in every industry, and I think there's elites overall, and that they push buttons and they move things. But to hear it from somebody that was in the industry at this level, because we've heard some artists talk about the Illuminati. We've heard things, whisperings here and there. But an artist of her level and what she's had to deal with regarding, being kind of kicked out of the industry, speaking on it is interesting. So check it out.
Is the Illuminati real? Like, is that, I know people use that label to name, like, okay, powerful people, but so take that with a grain of salt, like that label of Illuminati, like as a group. Like, is there an actual group of powerful people that kind of control everything?
Okay, let me say, my situation is I feel like it's very personal. Like, I feel that there definitely is a group of people that have made things very difficult for me. But I don't know if, they're Illuminati. I don't know what they are. I always was looking at it as if this was a personal issue, that one person didn't really like me and they happened to be in a powerful position, and they were able to use their influence to make people go against me. And that because, they couldn't get certain money with me, that, they wanted the money not to come to me. I never looked at it as if it was like an entire secret society against me.
Yeah.
But who knows? It could be. It could have been. Who knows? But however, it definitely has been spiritual. Now, what they call themselves and what they proclaim to be, only they could tell you that.
Yeah.
But has it been a spiritual warfare? Absolutely.
That's very interesting. I think here she is like subliminally talking about Jay-Z, because she's had a lot of issues with Jay-Z, Rock Nation, so on and so forth. But, she's not going to say directly, because I think it's just going to bring on more problems. But let me know what you guys think, man. I think the music industry definitely has things that is very questionable. I mean, there's a lot of rumors going around with the Oliver Tree thing and him passing away and him leaving Atlantic Records and them having an issue with his music, this and that, and him trying to leave. And, there's death clauses in artists' contracts that when they die, these labels get to essentially take the money for the most part. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff in the music industry that a lot of people don't know about. And I want to eventually do a documentary on death clauses, because there is one on YouTube that's really good. But I actually want to expand on that and, talk about that more. But I'll do that in the future. But yeah, let me know what you guys think, man. I think Nicki Minaj is headed down a right path. I like to see more artists at this level speak about these things. Even if they release music later on that, kind of contradicts what they're talking about, at least being open and talking about is interesting. It's something. It sparks a conversation. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. That's it for today's video. If you guys want to support this channel further, you can do so at patreon.com/diverse mentality. For just $3 a month, you can get my videos uncut and raw the way I intended them to be, but couldn't because of YouTube. Plus, you also get access to our Discord community, where we have a great community talking about hip hop and various other things. It's very dope. So only $3 a month. I'd really appreciate the support. Also follow us on social media at QuakeGW and at Diverse Mentality. Thank you so much for the support, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.